981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Nancia, Smokehouse, it's the urban heat. Shout out to Coach Live.
Coach LA's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call in, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, now I always get a business to empower you so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
Hey. My sister got on me for saying, hey, talking about I was like Fat Albert. I have to give her a shout out. But welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La La La, your favorite around the way therapist. I hope y'all doing all right. It's about 40 degrees out here in Massachusetts, and we're expecting rain in the next hour. So by the time I get done with this show, it'll be raining, which does not make me a very happy coach. But what can we say? At least I'm in the studio so I can be here with all you wonderful people. Shout out to everybody that's listening from iHeartRadio, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I see y'all. Thank you for being here. So I have a great show in store for you guys tonight. This virtual couch is going to be one of those ones that you need to make sure you have your favorite beverage and your journal and a pen, because we are going to be dropping some gems. But before we get into that, I want to give my sister girl, Miss Rebecca Dupas, a big shout out, because this is the 1 year anniversary of her How to Slay a Dragon poem. And the reason why this is so significant, right, is I actually met my next guest being a participant, and I was auditing Rebecca's launch of her workshop of How to Slay a Dragon. So I have something really, really special because I got my book, right? So she actually has converted the How to Slay a Dragon into a book. And I got my copy. And this is my first time. I actually had to make sure I opened up this part of the package because y'all, it was giving me a hard time. So I have not looked at this yet. I haven't seen it until now. So y'all are going to see my live reaction unboxing of Dr. Rebecca Dupas' new book. Oh, wait. I got to turn it the other way. Wait a minute. Ooh. Ain't that nice? Look at this, y'all. Shout out to my girl. Look at my girl. Mm-hmm. This is beautiful. And of course, she signed it to me. Yep, she signed it to me. And I have not looked at this yet, but this is a visual poem written by Dr. Rebecca Dupas. And it was illustrated by Rashad Malik Davis. And I'm just telling y'all, okay, here go my girl. Looking all good. Okay, wait, you should get in the camera. Y'all can see. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'm so proud of her. So this is a coffee table book. And it is a visual display of her poem, How to Slay a Dragon. And I must say, this is just gorgeous. Oh my goodness. I just love this. Go ahead, Rebecca. this is such a nice book that you can take and read to the young people. Look at the visuals. Look at the visuals. Look at the visuals. Oh, this is so nice. I can't wait to get all into it. But shout out to Dr. Rebecca Dupas on her book. This is awesome. I'm super proud of her and excited. And for me to have been one of the first therapists to audit her workshop, I feel completely blessed. So shout out to her, shout out to her, shout out to her. Make sure y'all go get the book if you can. Hey, what's up, Santana girl? Looking all good. I see your picture, girl. You were sexy something. Okay, now I don't want to digress, but tonight's show is really special to me because you guys know I don't like to just, talk the talk. I like to walk the walk. And I also like to bring people on who have walked the walk and who also can drop nuggets and can be a potential resource for you. This is season 9. And as you guys know, season 9 is all about my chapter 50. And my birthday is coming up. So y'all save the date. My party is July 11th. More details to come. But it's all about healing, elevation, and evolving. And this is all about milestones. So a lot of us, all of our 1976 babies, we all about to turn 50. And I remember thinking 50 was so old. And on top of that, I had all these goals of what I wanted to accomplish by the time I turned 50. So this season is all about really addressing that, because some of y'all might be down, depressed, anxious. Maybe you're not hitting 50, maybe you're hitting 30, maybe you're hitting 40, 45, 25, because I got some 25-year-old clients that are freaking out. And I'm like, girl, young man, you don't even understand. 25 is a beautiful year. But they are panicking about all of the things. So tonight's episode is all about purpose in motion. And what is purpose, right? And turning pain into power, not only just power, but into profit and purpose with my next guest, who is, let me tell you something. I met her participating in Rebecca Dupas's workshop, and she was the guest speaker. And when I tell you she was powerful and she had so much insight that I said, yeah, you have to come talk to my audience because you are just exuding the bet on self energy. So we're going to be talking about post-traumatic growth and purpose-driven action, right? So that is what tonight's show is all about. But let me tell you just a little bit about my guest. She is a 2-time breast cancer thriver. I said that right. She's a thriver. She's a suicide attempt survivor, which is really important. Around this time of the year, there's a spike in suicides. And I don't know if people know that. I don't have an exact science of why, but around this time of year, suicidal ideation spikes, also during the holidays, but something about the spring. She also has navigated the loss of both of her parents. And technically, if I think about the fact that my mom is going through an altered mental state, aka dementia, it sort of almost feels like I've lost 2 parents. I lost my dad 7 years ago. I cannot believe that. It's coming up on year 8. She is the author of multiple books, including Was What Asha Said, right? Which I think is very clever. I don't know if y'all caught that. It's called Was, but it stands for What Asha Said. I like that wordplay you did, sis. She's the founder and CEO of Life on Purpose Solutions, right? She's the co-founder of Beauty Time Inc. She has been a featured speaker at Microsoft, U.S. Capitol, Busboys, and Poets. I would like to say that Miss Asha, she isn't just a woman of purpose, but she doesn't just talk about purpose, she births it. So without further ado, I want to bring my sister girl up on the camera with me, make sure her mic is on, because we got to have the mic on, because the mic got to be on, it got to be hot. Please help me welcome Miss Asha on Purpose to the virtual couch. What's up, girl?
Hello. I am so excited to be here. I'm like, the unboxing of the book. I'm like, be quiet, girl. Don't get in the mic. I am so excited about how beautiful that book is. Talk about purpose. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's so awesome. to even be able to, just know all that we know about what she put into that. So I'm super, super, super excited about that. Let me just make sure if the sounds good. Say something again.
Hello. Is my sound sounding good?
Okay, I can hear you. Can everybody else hear you?
Can you all
I know
hear me?
Sandra, if you're on there, give me a thumbs up, everybody, if you can hear her. Santana, can you hear her? Is she sounding all right? Everybody sound good?
Hello. Look, hey.
I hear you in my headphones. So
okay.
I'm assuming that everybody else can hear you too, because I can hear you in my headphones.
All right.
If y'all can't hear her, let me know, because I just made a little change to the audio.
Okay.
But I can
no sign language if we need to go that way, right?
No sign language.
No, we're gonna get through it.
You sound good. Your mic sounds good. So I was thinking, right, about this show, right, and thinking about what we wanted the listeners to really know about you. So tell me, who is Asha outside of all of the things that I have said about you? What do you want the audience, what do you want the listeners, people who are just coming in, getting the opportunity to meet you for the first time, maybe never, what do you want them to know that they can't go Google or find? Who is Asha Hardnett?
I love it. Well, thank you for that question. I start a lot of my workshops with that because people like to lead with their titles. And so when I'm having conversations, I like to say, who are you outside of what other people say you are? And if I describe myself, I'm first a child of God. I know I was created by the maker of heaven and earth. And he took time with me, just like he took time. We saw those beautiful pictures from the moon. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm made by the same God. I just love that. I am also I'm the girl that talks too much on all my report cards. And now I get paid to talk. This talking was something that I could have silenced myself. Other people tried to silence me. Whenever I'm somewhere, it's always like sound problems, all kind of things, because I know that my voice is a weapon. And so that bet on self energy comes from knowing that I've been through things that if I can save somebody a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, if I can help you with a cheat code that makes your life easier, if I can help you get to purpose faster than I got there, I'm gonna open my mouth and do it. I am someone, I love the color purple. I do have my purple earrings today. I was like, I don't have on any purple. I love the color purple. So that's something that they can't Google about me. And then my name in Swahili means hope. And in Hindu, it means it means hope, and in Swahili, it means life. So that's the interesting thing. And I feel like I embody those things. My parents, they did a good job. They named me well. I'm grateful for that.
I love that. I found out that my name in I think Swahili meant the rain. Lakeisha meant the rain. I was like, wow, I like that. I like being in the rain. I actually like rain too, as long as I'm not in it. I like to be in the house and just listening to it drop. But I think that's beautiful. Now, a lot of your story has been about taking your pain and turning it into purpose, but not just purpose, into profit. Now, how did you come about calling yourself the Purpose Doula?
Yes. Okay. So some years back, I realized when I looked at a pattern, I have a thing that I do. I think my husband has dubbed it like threading. And I noticed that one of my gifts is the ability to see the connection in multiple things that other people may not see a connection in. I can see a thread in it. And a lot of the times that leads to like the purpose of a thing, whether it's why I'm in a space, why I'm connected to someone, or even listening to someone tell their story. I'm like, oh girl, you should be doing boom, 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 boom. And I started helping people with that. At one point I was going with like midwife. And the idea of a midwife is the person who, they're in the delivery room and they're catching the baby. And then I had a friend who was going through pregnancy and learned what a doula was. And a doula, interestingly enough, very similar to a midwife, but a doula can help you on the front end. They can help you prepare, like get your layout together. They can come and spend the night after the baby is born. They can be in the delivery room, but they don't have to do all the medical stuff. So I partner with people like Coach Law, when I have clients that I do life coaching with, I'm not a therapist. So I'll partner with people and say, you know what, this may be a little bit further than what I can do, but I can coach someone to the finish line. I can coach someone into birth. And that is what I realize. I am someone, thank you for confirming that. I am someone who likes to partner with the process, not with not figuring out, like, necessarily I don't have to I'm not the person who births the baby. I'm the person who walks them through the process. So that's how doula came about.
So, you know, when I originally heard that, I thought that you were sort of doing a wordplay in terms of birthing people's purpose and using doula in that form, in that way, and not necessarily that you really were birthing babies. But
absolutely. No, birthing purpose.
Okay, so I got it right.
You got it right. Wordplay on birthing purpose. Yes.
I'm
not in the delivery room with you when you, like, someone I used to actually completely do hands-on stuff with helping people get their books completely out. I'll coach you through the process. So I'm the person who holds your hand through the birthing process of purpose. And purpose looks like different things for different people.
Okay, they're telling me I still have echo, so let me do this. All right, let's try that. Thank you, Tony Bone. Shout out to everybody on the live. I love how y'all be just helping a sister out. Did the echo go away, Tony?
Is it me?
Did the echo go away? I hope it went away. No, it's not you. So there is different microphones that we can use, and I am still very much learning which audio to use and which one works best.
Awesome.
So hopefully the echo is gone. I hope so. I hope it is. Is it gone, Tony? I hope so. Tony, let me know. All right. So how did you get into wanting to do this work? Before we get into, you know, what changed your life, right? Or maybe that'll actually connect both. But what made you get into this work?
So in 2023, I married an amazing man who is a business coach to his heart. This man can find the business plan in anything. Like, he can sell water to a whale. And as he was talking to me, the beauty of marrying someone who makes you better, he said, you know, you always coaching people, but you coaching for free, right? And so there were a lot of times where I'm having conversations with people and I'm giving away. He has a phrase where he'll say, don't give away for free what God gave you to bring in a fee. There are things that actually could be feeding your family. You could be setting up your generations past, all kind of, generations behind you, but we're giving it away and we're not treating it as if it's something valuable. So I started studying. I created an actual package, created a framework so that it was something that I could duplicate. And I realized I can actually help more people when I take it seriously. When I say, you know what, this is the framework. This is how this goes. We do identity. Then we talk about healing. I know exactly what the steps are. I'm able to. It's a process. I'm not winging it at any point. And my friends were getting results before, and then I realized, you know what, this is actually something that I need to turn into a business because it's helping people, and I need to take it more serious.
I love that. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how to connect what they have a passion to do, have fun doing, and also could make money, right? And often I think when we're thinking about purpose, some people are in careers that make a lot of money, right? They got kind of driven or led into what they thought would make money, but they're not happy in these fields and they don't feel connected to them. And I often wonder, how can you help people make that connection or get off that rat race, right? When you got bills to pay, you got stuff to do, and what you may want to do doesn't feel like it can pay the bills. But I'm curious, right? You've gone through a lot of trauma, pain, life stuff. And a lot of my listeners and clients, life is lifing. And it may seem like when you're going through all of that stuff that it just doesn't make sense and they get off track. So who were you before life changed you and life started happening? Like, was there a big shift between the Asha that was before she survived cancer versus the Asha that we see now?
A level of wisdom. I think my faith has grown, but who I am at the core has been the same. And I find that even when it comes to people walking in their purpose, a lot of the times, whatever it is you're called to do, that thing is going to show up in you regardless. And that's how people end up giving it away. That's how people end up unfulfilled, because they're giving away. They're not giving from a place of abundance. They're not giving from a place where it's overflow. And so your job is getting the best of you because you're staying there 9 to 5, and then maybe you have a nonprofit you're supposed to start, you have a book you're supposed to write, and it's held up in you. That feels like you're not fulfilled. And so I had to realize that I'm the same person before these things happen. I'm just more wise. So I've taken the lessons. I've been very intentional not to lose myself in these processes. And that's how I stayed anchored to purpose. Because if something is created, if I'm created to be light, if I'm created to be joyful, if I'm created to be playful, I love to dance. I literally danced my way through chemotherapy. My nurses, even now, I go in for checkups and I have different appointments that I have to do now just to maintain. And they come in, they're like, we're not doing no TikTok dances today. I'm like, you will if I ask you to, right? And I'm not sure how many other patients they have that relationship with, but I know when I walk through the door, I know how I'm supposed to show up. I know that I'm not coming in with a, oh, woe is me attitude. I pray for more of my nurses than anything. If I'm like, baby, are you having a bad day? Well, here, come in. Let's fix that, because I need you together before you can, I don't want you touching me if you're not having a good day. So what's going on with you? You sit down. And they're like, oh no, I'm okay. I'm going to get it together. I'm like, please do, because I'm me. And so I showed up as my authentic self all the way through all of my processes. There were seasons where grief is a little bit different. That one almost shook me. My mom, that one, she, I almost lost myself in that process. But thank God, I at the core, I know who I am. And so no matter what, I knew to get back to what I was anchored in. I knew to get back to who I am. And then just to take the lessons that I learned from each thing and add it to who I am. It doesn't change me in a way where I'm so far off of how I was created. It changes me in a way where I'm now 2.0. Every time the iPhone updates, I just got a 16. I had an iPhone 12 forever. My phone stopped working, and finally I'm like, you know what, I don't necessarily want the 17. That little button on the side sound like it's a bit too much for me, but I'll go 16. So now I have an iPhone 16, and so now that's how I am. I've leveled up. It's still the same thing at the core. I just got a couple new buttons. This is some things here and there.
You brought up something, because I think when we lose someone, that kind of grief lingers for a long time. Because I was going to ask you, what did it mean to become yourself again after the loss? Because often, I know my dad's passing, it was like a piece of me, and I had to find a way to reconnect with him and also with myself to move forward, which is the birthing of this show, right? That makes it seem like he's just passed away like yesterday, because I'm always talking about him, but the years are going. So how did you get back to yourself? Because I know there's a lot of people that are either dealing with loss, still dealing with loss. And it's challenging to kind of get back on the horse. It feels like you're stopping and the world just is moving. And often I hear clients express just wanting everything to stop for just a second. But when your loved one leaves, the world keeps going, even if you feel like you're not. So how did you do that? How did you manage to get back to you?
Yes. Well, it's a process. It's a constant process. On some days, it feels like It's all good. And then on other days, it feels like it's fresh. And so I understand what grief is. Grief is acknowledging that there's something that was here that's no longer present. And that's okay. So I have a phrase that I say, and I've said it throughout. I say it in with my coaching clients. I say it everywhere, and that's okay. And so whatever the phrase is, if you can attach "and that's okay" to the end of it, it minimizes it, because that thing doesn't have as much power. And so I didn't give grief the permission to come in and change. The book is a series of poems. I'm a poet, and so that is my process. So I wrote my pain. I wrote poems. I wrote stories. I wrote out what I needed to. I took walks in nature. And you said something very poignant, which is so true. I found ways to reconnect with myself, figure out who I was without them. Like literally, I know the moment my mother left Earth, I felt my umbilical cord physically snap, like my stomach. I wasn't in the house, I wasn't there. And before I got the phone call, it's like my umbilical cord, I felt it snap, and I felt her leave.
Wow.
The change, there's a connection, but I feel now that it's been 7 years, I feel more connected to her in other ways. There are times where I'll get a scripture from someone, or I'll get a call from someone, or all of a sudden, like this morning in church, they sang one of my mother's favorite songs. They never sing those old hymn songs. They're always singing this new contemporary stuff. And today they just went old school. And I just felt like she was present. And so finding ways to stay connected to whatever we lost without us burying ourselves with them, because that's what we're tempted to do. Realizing that I don't say that that I buried my parents, that I planted them. They were planted. So my mother was planted first and my father was planted second. And when I reframed the conversation around them being planted, when you plant something, you expect something else bigger and better to grow in its place. Something with some limbs and some legacy and some purpose and some fruit grows in its place. And so I don't say buried is like that's the end. But if you plant something, it's the beginning of something new. And I had to reframe the conversation around understanding that they were planted, that their lives were planted, that the words that they planted in us and our children were planted. And those things are going to bear fruit. They won't be here in the ways that we expected to celebrate it, but they're celebrating. They're celebrating. Their lives mean something, and that's part of the process. Is not burying ourselves with them.
I love that, the planting. I think that finding meaning, and you probably know this already, and I've talked about it in other episodes, but finding meaning and purpose is one of the things to really help navigate grief. So I have a segment, right, where I get into, what therapy means to you. So let's get into it. Because all of the things that you just described, right, are forms of therapy. And from your perspective, how has therapy shaped, molded, or even transformed your thinking? What does it mean to you in terms of being in therapy, or have you used therapy? Like, what role has it played in your life?
Ooh, so multiple ways. And understanding that therapy is not one thing. My first encounter with therapy happened when I was 15, and I took a bottle of Benadryl and a bottle of Tylenol and a bottle of something else. And it was one of those moments where I can't honestly say that I understood that I could not wake up for this. I just wanted the world to stop. I was a PK, preacher's kid. Both of my parents were ministers, all kind of things. And I felt like at the time there was a lot of pressure that I didn't know how to articulate. And so they hospitalized me. And I talked my way out of the hospital so I could take my finals. Like that's who I was. But during the process, they gave me tools, which was a journal and a therapist. And having someone who's neutral, who doesn't judge, that it wasn't her job to fix me. It wasn't her job. She wasn't telling my parents what I said. She didn't give me a bunch of scriptures. She simply listened, and then she would ask questions like, does that make sense to you? And I'm like, well, honestly, it doesn't. And so what it taught me was that a lot of the answers are already in me, but sometimes it's helpful to have somebody that's not connected to what's happening guide you. And so when I got the first diagnosis of breast cancer, I enlisted 3 therapists simultaneously because I had buried my mother in 2018, and then I was diagnosed in 2020. And so I knew I needed a therapist for grief because I knew that that could potentially be part of the problem. I knew that I wanted someone who understood the journey that I was embarking on. And I also wanted someone who understood what was happening in the world. We were in the middle of, I say the panoramic, because I don't use words that bring fear, because words are power. So I don't say all the stuff they were saying on the news. I said panoramic because it created a 360 view of everything that was happening in the world. And so there were things happening in our culture, in our community, just living in brown skin in the US at that time when everything was shut down was a lot. So I had 3 different therapists at one time, and I would have different conversations with all 3. And so I think it is a powerful tool. It can be an absolute weapon because it can help you understand yourself. I think I absolutely recommend that. I think every person, especially if you have melanin in your skin, someone outside of you that's not your family, that has your best interest at heart, that can give you tools to put in a toolkit so you know how to go through life. I commend what you do. Thank you. We need amazing therapists. Thank you.
I love that, having someone to just sort of be a sounding board is what I think about when they say, does that make sense to you? That to me is when I mirror back what I hear my clients say. Now, a lot of people talk about being in survival mode, right? And that's a big thing. That's sort of pop therapy, pop culture. And as you said, words have power. So I have really been encouraging people to really think about when you say you're in survival mode, what does that mean? So from your perspective, what does healing look like beyond survival? Because you said I'm a thriver. And I feel like for me, if you're no longer in the situation and you've already gotten on the other side, you've already survived 100% of your worst days. So why are we still in survival mode? Which I know as a therapist that there's post-traumatic stress disorder and there's these symptomology that people deal with. And I try to remind them of their strength and remind them that they've already overcome that. So from your perspective, how do you do that? How do you get beyond saying you're in survival mode when you're in that healing phase?
Yeah, well, I started saying I was a thriver while I was in chemotherapy. So it wasn't from the end of a thing. And technically I'm still on, still kind of in the process. But it was understanding that even the words that I use, I don't say, people say my cancer journey. First, I don't claim the thing. So it was never my cancer, never my anything. We get a diagnosis. I never owned it. It's the diagnosis. But I decided that I was going to be better by it. Like this thing has to, if you show up in my life, you have to make me better. Anything, my friends, relationships, the books that I read, the food that I eat, if you are not here to make me better, I'm gonna need you to exit stage left. Right. And so even something that looks like it could take me down, I'm a believer. And so my phrase, no weapon formed against me can prosper. If it can't prosper, then it has to make me better. So if you're gonna show up, then Cancer, what you bringing with you? Okay, Cancer, what do you have with you? Oh, you're showing me that I'm resilient. Okay, you're showing me that I can be light in any space. That okay, you showed me that that I can thrive through something. You showing me that I can write from a different place of vulnerability. And the interesting thing with me is my mother battled breast cancer, and so I saw it And then I used her journey to learn and then thrive on the other side of it. So survival is if you're constantly in it. In high school, I was a fighter. And so I would throw hands here and there every once in a while. I used to say fight for fun, but I didn't have a problem arguing with somebody or whatever, all kind of things. And there's a point where I had to realize that fight has to be towards something worth something. And so if I want to constantly be in a fight, if you constantly want to be throwing hands at something, that gets exhausting after a while. At my big age, there's a point where it's like, no, let it make you grow. So if you decide, if something comes, ask yourself, how can this make me better? What can I learn from this? What can I take from it? Even a relationship, when you end a relationship, when you leave a job, whatever it is, if it's not making you better, it's holding you back in some way. And so thrive through anything. If anything, something thinks it buries you, let it know you're a seed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Earlier today, shout out to Vic Breedy. We host a pretty much quarterly group called the Selfish Women's Group. And it's to be selfish with self-care. And she introduced a concept today called the freedom diagram. And it asks, what is something that you are good at, like that you enjoy? What is something you do for fun? And then the crossover of the two. Oh, and that it could make you money. And when you think about, freedom, and you think about purpose, which is what this conversation is all about, is purpose in motion. Sometimes we don't really realize that our biggest opportunities come disguised as bad news. And we also talked about how can you look at the L as a lesson. So often losses, can make you sad, can make you depressed, can make you anxious. But if you flip it around and say, what am I learning from this? What am I taking from this? How is this helping me grow? What is this pointing out that I maybe didn't notice before? You can take anything that looks like a L and flip it and make it a lesson, and you can actually use that to thrive. So I think about, people who have taken their trauma stories, their pain, and they've written books. They become, motivational speakers. They become life coaches. They become therapists. And often what we don't realize, you're not talking about the pain anymore. You're actually talking about the thriving to encourage someone else. So they say, don't really talk about your story while you're still in it because you're still processing it. And there's, different thoughts about that. Some people feel like, if that's all you have to do it. I say journal, therapist, coach, safe spaces, because social media is not a safe space in a lot of ways. As much as there are people here that will support you, there's also the opposite of the trolls and the people that will judge you, and the embarrassment or just you being exposed and you can't take it back and you lose control of your story. So that's the only reason why I caution people about using Facebook, Instagram, and sharing really personal things before you've processed them, because it can be detrimental. I'm not saying don't, because it's all you all can do what you like, but when you lose that control over your story, you can feel very vulnerable. I see a lot of people have to take space from the internet because they feel like it's not a real place, but you curate it. You get a chance to curate your experience. So I am very much an advocate for people being able to have some place to take their story. And I think that's what you're really sharing too, is that therapy, journaling, writing books, I think are healthy ways to sort of process your story. So how do you maintain your mental health while holding space for others?
That's good.
Yes.
That's good. I believe in the power of the village. I have a group on Facebook called The Village, Auntie Asha's Village. And it started because my children's father was, get on my nerves. I go in and I wanted to talk about my baby daddy, right? And but I didn't want it to be on Facebook, exactly what you're saying. I didn't want to put it on Facebook. And it was right when Facebook started testing groups. And so I created a village for other moms, and I would see people post stuff, and I'd be like, girl, take that off Facebook, come in here. Girl, take that off your page, take that post down, come in here. And created a space and realized that the village, we say it takes a village to raise a child, but really the village is really for for the adults as well. And so I believe in the power of the village. Who is in your circle? And if you don't have a circle, even, if you're on and you're watching, Coach La is in your circle. I even just meeting you a few times, I already know she's a resource. So she's automatically added in my village. We immediately linked. I'm like, oh, yep, added, locked in. We locked in, twin. Because when you meet people who have the heart to care for others, the question is too, who's caring for them? And if I know I'm somebody, I can hold space for you, and you can hold space for me, then it becomes a partnership. I write, I'm a journal. My children and my husband know when 100 years from now, when I finally decide to give up the ghosts and I'm done, burn the journals, because there's nothing in here. You don't want to know. You don't want to know what I'm talking about, because I'm honest.
That's where all the bodies are buried.
Baby, burn it. Do not read it. I will publish what I want published while I am on this side of earth. Right. Everything else, I'm gonna need you to light on fire, okay? Because I use it. I need to vent. I am also a very, very, yes, there are men in.
There's men welcome. You all are welcome. Y'all talk about y'all baby mamas.
That's not mine. I didn't add him in the village, but yes, there are fathers and mothers, aunts. There are people who don't have children that are also in there as well. But I understood how important it was to create a community. And so I journal. I am my mother was a prayer warrior. I wake up in the morning and I could have holy oil on my forehead at any moment, or hear her praying in the bathroom. And I didn't really understand her prayer life when she was here. And now that she's not here, it's a legacy that she has left me. And so prayer absolutely is one of my favorite weapons. And then poetry, definitely writing poetry. I like to, sometimes journaling turns into poetry, but that's how I keep my mental health. And I do have a therapist. I'm in between therapists right now. So
I always say this, because some people get really caught up on like having multiple therapists, but I feel like we all add to your journey. Yeah. You might need an executive coach, a career coach. You might have a therapist that helped you get through grief. So that's why I say we have to change the way we look at therapy. And that's why I wanted to do this show, is to debunk the myths that only people with a diagnosis or severe mental health issues go to therapy. I think therapy can be used as preventive care, which is AKA self-care, the same way you go get a physical and you go get your labs and you do all of the things to make sure you're in a good space. You can do the same thing for your psyche, for your brain, for your mind, to manage your emotions, because emotions are automatic. We are emotional beings. They are showing up even when you don't want them to show up. And we will do things like repress them, neglect them, deflect them, intellectualize them, instead of just sitting and saying, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What is anger trying to tell me? What is sadness trying to tell me? And I told someone, I said, a lot of people don't like being sad, but sad just lets you know you care about something. Sad lets you know that it mattered. Sad lets you know that there was something about that you needed, and that maybe it didn't pan out the way you wanted. It's not necessarily something you have to run away from. You just have to understand why it shows up. Yeah. Same thing with anger. Why does it show up? And I think if we reframe our relationship with our emotions, we'll manage them so much better.
Yes.
Right? Because there's some that we're okay with and others we're not. The only one people always say, I just want to be happy. But you're not going to always be happy. Everything is not going to make you happy. So what happens when it doesn't make you happy? Yeah. Right? How do you manage that? So
yeah.
So thinking about my next thing, because I want to find out from you, especially because when I get people like you on the virtual couch, you do this often, right? So we talk about bet on self, right? Bet on self moments, these moments in life where we have these epiphanies, and we jump in the driver's seat. We start to reflect. I think going into my 50th year, since this is my chapter 50 about to come up, but there are these defining moments, right? Decisions. And everything is a decision, everybody, where we choose healing, growth, or change, even when it's uncomfortable. And, everybody that's just tuned in, you're listening to Conversations with Coach La 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 right here on Heat 98.1 FM. We are Boston's only Black-owned radio station that's on the iHeartRadio platform. And I am talking to Asha, the Purpose Doula, right? You heard that right. I know you're like, oh my goodness. For those who already were on here, she helps you birth your purpose. So tell me, what are some of your bet on self moments, either past, present, or future?
Oh, no, that's good. So I do this thing and I'll do it really briefly. 2018 was the worst year of my life. My mother was ill and she transitioned. I lost my job. And then my boyfriend at the time, I found out he was pregnant and it wasn't me. Okay.
Oh, ooh.
Right.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I also say 2018 was the year that I learned who I was. I learned that I was in a job. I was sitting in a cubicle that was too small for my purpose. And so I had to launch. I ended up launching my business. My mother is no longer ill. She left a legacy. And now she is doing exactly what she wanted to do. Jesus was absolutely her best friend, and she is in heaven with both of her best friends now. So she's good. She's good. And she knew we were going to be good. And then also the man, he didn't love me. The man that I was with did not love me. And he moved out of the way so that the one who does love me could find me. And so that was just me shifting perspective. And those were bet on self moments. So at the end of that year, 2018, I also published 3 books in 1 year because I wanted to reframe. There were so many things that happened. It felt like one jab after another, after another, after another. I'm like, oh my goodness, if I carry the weight of how I pictured this 1 year, it's going to, it'll hurt forever. And so I wanted to produce something. I needed to plant something so something could grow. So I published my first 3 books in 2018. The third one actually came out in 2019, but I wrote them all in 2018. And so that was definitely a bet on self moment because it was me being very intentional about what I wanted to do. My mother had helped me edit my first book, Transfer Please. She helped me read it. And there's a story in there where one of the characters, it's like short stories about people who are riding. I'm from Chicago, originally born and raised in Chicago. And we have an L, we call it the L train. So our public transportation is called the L. And so it's written with people riding the L. And one of the girls in there was using foul language. And so I had like edited things. And like I told you, they were pastors. So I'm like, Ma, if I publish this, you're going to be good. Like, if I don't want to get you guys disaffiliated and all this thing. She's like, no, I think that's how it happens. So you need to write it like that. So she gave me permission to be authentically myself in the story. But when she was passing, she was like, where's your book? Like at the end, she started hallucinating. She started picturing my book. So I wrote her into the book. And that's how I published the first one. And so that was really a bet on self moment when I said, at first I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. She didn't get to see it. And then I shifted it and I'm like, you know what? She will get to see it. She saw the book. So do it. That was one of my biggest bet on self moments. I had helped multiple people publish books. I talked people into it, walked them through the process, edited their books, all the things, and had not published my own book yet. I think at least 8 people before I published my first book. So that was when I decided to take my pen and go public with that. Getting on stage, doing poetry, sharing poetry on stage, going from being a written poet to spoken word artist. That was a bet on self moment. Absolutely. Because, and the piece that I did is called Literary Virgin. It is in my book. And it's about pretty much being intimate on stage and what and what that would feel like. And so that was what I wrote. A friend of mine was like, "Why don't you do your own poems?" And I'm like, I might as well be butt naked on stage. And then he was like, "Write it." And so that's what came out when I wrote it.
Wow. It does feel like that. It's like a vulnerable exposure because these are your intimate words, your intimate thoughts, and you never really quite know how the audience is going to receive it.
Absolutely.
And it's like that Erykah Badu moment where you're like, okay, y'all, I'm sensitive about my ish. But one thing about poetry, I think there's so many spaces and we have so much space for different voices and different ways of writing, which is why I love it. I do an event called Poe Therapy because I truly believe poetry is therapy. It is one of the safest spaces to process emotions. And then you can use so many different ways to express emotion versus just saying you're angry. You can write it in like it's a lion. I just love that we can be so free with how we write and how poetry can do that. Everybody that is watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, there's a poll, right? And so I had a question, do you know what your life purpose is? So many people come to therapy and they are reporting feeling stuck, lost, and just like they don't know, like they're just in a conundrum of life throwing them in a wash machine and they're in the spin cycle and they really just don't know how to stop it. What are some of the things, right, when you think about your bet on self moment? Because a lot of us do that and then other people really struggle with making these bet on self moments. I often have to point them out on when and where they might have done it and they don't see it. So what do you do with your clients to get them to get to that point to be brave enough to step out there?
Yeah, that's good. And that is so real. One of the first things that I do is help them because it has to do with identity. That first question that you asked me, who are you that's not Googleable? Because a lot of the times what we're created to do, what our purpose is, the thing that actually lights us up is probably something that's been with us our whole life. I remember I was introduced to poetry young and I didn't necessarily, Dr. Maya Angelou, I met Dr. Maya Angelou and she said, your name is a poem. And I hated my name at the time. And I was like, oh, baby, now after that, you can't tell me nothing. I've been writing poetry ever since. I'm official, right? And so there are moments that just shift who we are and they anchor our identity. So it really, really has everything to do with who are you? And how do you want to show up in the world? One of my favorite things to do is have people write. I write a lot at the beginning of every year, I write a letter to myself at the end of the year. I have written my obituary multiple times because I want to know what it looks like at the end. I want to be in control of the narrative of what gets said at the end, because I want to make sure that I'm living up to it as well, not in a control type of way, but in a way that says, okay, Asha, you said helps 100,000 girls with confidence. And I have a organization, Beauty Time Inc. If I'm not aiming a net at that many girls, then I need to speed it up because that's what's in my heart to create. So really has everything to do with looking at identity. Who are you? How do you want to show up in the world? And what are the things that you've been doing your whole life that genuinely light you up? For some people, it might be writing. Some people, it just joining a board of directors. For some people, might actually help them feel fulfilled. So what's the cause? You hear certain things on the news and it gets you excited or it gets you amped or it gets you hyped. What is the thing that lights you up? Do that thing. And how can you do that thing? Sometimes it's in addition to your job. It doesn't necessarily mean walking your purpose doesn't, but most of my clients, they work. A lot of the women I work with, especially the women, are six-figure CEOs. There's six-figure women. They're working in corporations. They don't quit their jobs. We're just helping them do things outside of their work or even integrating themselves into what they're doing so that they feel fulfilled consistently. It's not something they have to turn on and off.
Yeah. I love the who am I question. I do that a lot in the I am statements. I often use that to anchor people back into what matters to them, and also to align values too, because that often you find what people value. But people struggle with that question, especially when I say it has to be all positive. When I say, you know, I only want to know about the strengths and what you like, what you love, with no disclaimers, a lot of people really struggle to be able to do that. So I think those are some good strategies. And last season and this season, I've been talking a lot about legacy, because a lot of people, it feels like a lot, several people that I love and that I admired have passed away since January. Mm-hmm. And in all of those cases, you think about what they leave behind. And it gets you thinking about your own life and what you're going to leave behind, because none of us know that number that's going to come up after the dash. We just don't know. Now, there was a statement that I had thought about, and I'm gonna put it back on the screen because I did show it. But purpose isn't something you find, it's something you align with and act on. What are your thoughts on that statement?
100% correct. It's discovering, it's uncovering it. So the steps in my Push to Purpose program is pinpointing it and unlocking it. It's not something you have to create. And then we create a strategy. And then the last one is, like you said, work from a healed space. So you're not bleeding on people. And so it has everything to do with finding what's already there. A lot of the times people want to create something from thin air. And those may be purpose projects, but your purpose, what you're called and created to do, like you don't have to tell an iPhone what it needs to do. It's created to make calls. It's created to stream the internet. It's created to text message. And so if you get a phone and you never take it out of the box and you never do that with it, it's still created for that thing.
Oh, that's good.
And so that's the thing is a pen. If you never write with this pen was still created by who? By Bic to write in purple ink. That's what it was created to do. And so what we have to do with ourselves is we have to say, what was I created to do? And am I doing the thing I was created to do? Ooh. Not making it up, just aligning with it.
Ooh, that's good. But you know what I'm thinking though? I think that's the question, right? What was I created to do? And I think people don't know. I don't think they know. Do you have any tips on that?
So I have a whole book on tips for it. So seriously though, this book, when I wrote it, this is 45 poems. What Asha said, because I found a while, there's a couple things, right? So the what Asha said came from a couple things. I talked a lot. So there was always sometimes it was negative. That's what Asha said, what did Asha say type of thing, right? When I was younger, it was a negative thing. And then as I got older and started being more wise with my words, people started referencing what I was saying. Oh, that's what Asha said. That's what Asha said, or what Auntie Asha said when they're young. And so I put it into a book. It's 45 poems. There are journal prompts. There are affirmations. And so there's actual writing prompts. The book actually walks you through on some level, like the entry, it touches the surface on what my coaching program is. So if somebody actually reads the poem and writes it, I have a poem in here called Middle Child, where I talk about what it was like to be the middle child. I am the middle child, which is lit and drama at the same time sometimes, and how I learned to reconcile what that looked like for me without making excuses, and what that looked like for my relationship with God. Because, going to God and feeling like, oh, let me stay out the way when I'm used to doing that. I have what that relationship looked like. I didn't lose my parents, because people are like, oh, you lost your parents. I didn't lose them. I know exactly where my parents are. And so I wrote that in here, and I talk a little bit. Some of the writing prompts help you understand how I got to the place where I could write these things. But the book itself was a therapy session. And my therapist actually helped me.
Yeah. I tell people often, when I decided to explore getting my master's in clinical social work, they stated that it was going to be more a place of self-discovery because you needed to know who you are and what you were bringing to this work. And I do believe, and I put this on my bet on self model about believing that your pain has meaning, even when it doesn't make sense yet. Again, pain is letting you know that something hurt you, which means that that was something precious or something important.
Yes.
Okay. And empowered yourself to allow yourself to evolve beyond your survival story. I think we get so stuck in that survival story. Oh, hold on.
Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Shout out to Mark Harris. Rest in peace, my dear, dear friend. I miss you so much, but I'm glad I can hear your voice every single time we play that. And then lastly, you know, after you go through the B, again, this is the bet, right? You want to believe in that your pain has meaning, even when it doesn't make sense. Empower. You are allowed to evolve beyond your survival story. Again, we get so stuck in our pain that it gets harder to move forward, to heal. And then transform. Turn your experiences into impact, into income. So we're going to go into my last segment, and we're going to break that down for folks that are like, huh, Coach Asha, what y'all talking about? We don't know what you talking about. We're gonna give them a little bit of nuggets, and y'all gonna go get Asha's book too. But Coach's Corner, one of my favorite parts of the show, because we don't want to just talk at you. We want you to actually leave with something that you can go practice within the next 24 hours. You can practice this week. Whole purpose of this show is to people can go back, listen to this tomorrow or the day after, and get something that they can take away and use. This is a moment we reflect, we gather key takeaways, and we want to leave you with something that you can take with you. So that being said, talk to me about what you would like people to take away from this show and this conversation, and tangible steps. If they had to do something in the next 24 hours, what would you tell them to do?
Well, that's so good. Thank you for this. And first, I want to say thank you for framing your show in a purposeful way. Because everything about this conversation and the way that you've led it shows that you understand not just therapy, not just the whole holding space, but also being purposeful and intentional about the questions and the conversation. So a lot of the times I go on podcasts and I'm like, well, I don't know if they got anything tangible. So thank you for this, because this is what it's about. That. Come on, shout out to you. Yes.
Hey.
And so
I really appreciate that. Because that is the point of this. You know, a lot of people listen to this tomorrow. And as you know, on every Thursday, this live show gets converted into a podcast. So it lives out in the metaverse for people to listen to over and over again. You know, so I appreciate you telling me that, because it makes me feel really good. It makes me feel connected to my purpose. So thank you.
Absolutely. You are 100% connected. And I love to see it. So my steps would be to, one, lock into, like, write your story, even if it's not to share with other people. Sit down and ask yourself, what is it that you've experienced? One of the things that I know for sure, like I said, I am a believer. And so we listened to the story of David, right? When he had to fight Goliath, one of the things that made David's life easier, because David was like, oh, I can do this because I fought the lion and I fought the bear. So when I fought the lion and the bear, then this giant is just a little bit bigger. It's a little bit different, but I've done that before. And I have the tools that I know how to use. And so a lot of the times, a lot of us are not giving ourselves credit for the lions and the bears and the meerkats and the snakes. Y'all done
and the dragons
that y'all have slayed. You have experienced some things and you've survived it. If you're here, if you are listening to this podcast, you have purpose. With breath in your lung, there is something for you to do. And so if you would sit with the fact that you have accomplished something, even if it's, I just woke up, I don't feel like I'm doing a lot. A lot of the times it's whether it's parenting, if you held the door for somebody, if you were kind to somebody, you don't know what the ripple effect of what those things are. And don't minimize the things that you're slaying. Because maybe you start out with killing a gerbil, right? Maybe the thing is a gerbil, maybe it's something small, and then it gets bigger. At least you know you have the tools for that thing. So document and celebrate your wins, whatever they are. A lot of the times we wait until we're in the middle of something tragic to try to go back and try to remember the good. I have a journal that I keep specifically for medical. I have a journal that I keep specifically for, I have one when I want to talk to my mom, when I can't pick up the phone, I can't talk to her. I have a journal that I had given her for Mother's Day that I took back, and she can't say nothing about it, right? And so now I'm writing to her in that. And so I absolutely believe in writing down your wins, document the things that you have experienced already, and then setting a goal for where you want to go. Begin with the end in mind. How do you want life to unfold? What is something that you want? Write your goals. A lot of the times we miss purpose because we don't set goals. We're setting goals that align with other people. Especially, I know my children are now 29, 28, and 25. And so it's easy to get locked into that, just the role of mothering, but they're grown. They are living life now. So if I didn't know who I was, I'd be lost. So what are your goals for the future? And what have you accomplished in the past? And when you can frame your life in between where you're headed and where you're going without getting lost in where you are today, you'll always stay in a sense of purpose. You'll always say, why am I in this moment? Why am I here? I am here because someone needs to hear what I have to say. And I come into these moments knowing I knew somebody was going to say something that I need. I'm looking forward to going back and reading the comments. I've been taking notes from things that Coach La has been saying tonight, because I know that every moment is purposeful, and I can deposit, but I can always receive simultaneously. So walking through life in a place where you have your hands open to receive what it is that you're supposed to have, and then also you're open to giving what it is that you have inside of you that other people need. If you do that consistently, you'll always feel purposeful. You'll take every moment and you'll turn it into something beautiful. It can always turn into something beautiful.
I love that. And I would add on, one of the biggest fears often is AKA criticism, but I'm a reframe that and call it feedback. There's a concept that I invite listeners to go look up called feed forward. Feed forward. And a lot of times when we're looking in the rearview mirror, we get caught there versus looking for solutions. And so feedback often is just data. It's just information, and it's from somebody else's perspective, their focal point, their peripheral, their lived experience. So often that's where they're coming from. So you got to take that with a grain of sand. But here's two things that you can ask yourself. One, is there any truth to what this person is saying? Because sometimes we get so caught in the messenger, right? I don't like them. They hurt me before, all of these negatives, and we can lose the message. Their life sucks. They're not doing anything in their life. How dare they tell me something? Right? So we miss the message. But is there any truth to what this person is saying? Don't focus on the messenger. Focus on what they said. Is any part of what they said going to help me grow? Can it help me get to be a better version of myself? It can be uncomfortable to hear that. So we immediately go on a defense mode. We immediately try to negate what the person is saying. We immediately try to say, I don't do that all the time, or I didn't do that. You don't know what you're talking about. And then later I'll hear people say, well, they had a point, but I was mad, or I didn't like how their tone was. I didn't like that they said it in front of someone else. So keep that in mind, right? When you get feedback. And then the idea of feed forward is when there's a problem that you present to someone and they start to give you solutions or ideas, you just take them and write them down. You don't negate, you don't have to debate it. You don't have to say, I can't do that, but just write them all down, and you use the ones that work for you, and the ones that don't, fine. But often we'll get into debate with someone when they're we went to them for something, we went for advice, we went for counsel, and we will knock all of the suggestions down with negativity and our attitude. And that's why some people are like, I ain't telling her to or him nothing, because they don't listen no way. Right. So sit and listen, because when we're trying to find our purpose, often people see our strengths. They see what we can do sometimes before we do. And then secondly, we can have ideas that are aligned with our purpose, but we'll tell someone who is not in a space to receive it, and they will be naysayers, and they will say some things that will make you not do it because they're afraid and it's something that they wouldn't do. And they don't frame it that way, but because you trust them or you look up to them or they have a certain role in your life, you'll be like, oh, well, my mother said I couldn't do it, or my father, my uncle said that was a crazy idea. So you don't go after it. So you can't heal and stay the same. You can't heal and stay the same. Healing will disrupt your identity, right? If you've gotten so caught into one identity, healing often will disrupt that. And I know that's hard, because say you're a wife and you've been hurt by your husband, you start healing, you might want to change that status of being his wife or his girlfriend or whatever, because you're healing and you're not in the same space. That's why people can grow apart. Growth requires grief. Letting go of the old versions of you can be hard. It can be very comfortable to stay in that, right? And then purpose demands movement. It's like faith without prayer without, how do you say that saying
Faith
again?
without works is dead.
Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
So you can't have faith and fear in the same space. So for all my believers and Christians out there, if you have faith, then you have to trust and you have to move with intention. And it's almost a calculated risk, one foot in front of the other. So we get stuck in the emotion of fear. We get stuck there. And we often don't know how to move out of that. And fear for me is connected to anger and sadness and disgust.
Yeah.
Those are the things that typically keep you in that space.
And fear is faith in reverse. It's faith. It's still having faith, but it's faith in the negative. So you can either choose to have faith in what's optimistic, what's positive, what the possibilities are, or you can choose fear, which is faith in everything that can go wrong. But both are faith. It's just, what are you going to put your faith in? You're going to put your faith in that this is going to go wrong? Or are you going to put your faith in that this is going to go right?
Yes. And that idea of, but what happens if it works?
Right.
We often go into, what all the bad things, but what if it works? What would it feel like for this to work? What would it feel like to actually succeed? Right? So you're not stuck. You're not stuck. You're being stretched into your next assignment. And often that requires some grief of letting go of some people, places, or things.
Yeah.
So, all right. Last but not least, let's just talk about this real quick. The power pivot that I talked about last time, which was a check-in, was to switch your language, which is what Asha's saying too. Speak like the version of yourself that you're stepping into. Imagine that. And I love, again, shout out to Rebecca, the whole idea of slaying the dragon is that we all got this inner voice that's talking to us and telling us what we can't do. But is that even your voice? Sometimes that voice is somebody else, a naysayer, a teacher, a parent, a friend who you're still listening to, an ex that's still in your head that you got it on replay. It's not even your voice. So I told you guys last week to practice visibility, to show up before you feel ready. Confidence isn't found. It's rebuilt through aligned action. And I asked you also, which Asha also brought this home, I am, and to finish the sentence. So I'm bringing this all back because I want to tie it in. This season 9 is about milestones. This isn't a midlife crisis. This is midlife clarity. So for all of us that's turning 50, that's like, oh my God, I haven't reached where I want to be. I want you to take Asha's advice and sit down and write out all of the things you've accomplished. All of your wins, all of the times that you've bet on self that you didn't even know you did, because your purpose is somewhere in all of that. What else would you add to that? Because that's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, I would say take the ideas that you think you like, the things that you think you want to do. We have these lists of, like, I have 100 things to accomplish list, and I update it consistently. I've crossed things off, but keeping a list of where you want to go and what you want to do, but not making it something that you're crossing, that it's like, if I don't accomplish this, I'm not doing well, but it's something to aspire to. Who do you want to be? Taking those things, like writing those lists, journaling. And then also, I would say, on the flip of that, is giving ourselves grace. Right? It's really easy to compare. I was a teen mom, and so there was a period of time, but I was a straight A honor roll student, so I was the one that was a lot of the times assumed that I was going to college on scholarship more than some of my peers, and I watched them graduate from college when I hadn't. I, went to work and I took care of my children, and there was a period of time where I was comparing my life to other people's so much. And I didn't give myself grace for what I was accomplishing. Girl, you are keeping humans alive. Girl, you are learning new work skills. You are in an environment that was actually training me for what my purpose was later down the line. I didn't give myself grace for where I was. I didn't pat myself on the back for the things that I was accomplishing. So I would say also giving ourselves grace for reinventing ourselves every time we've ever had to. Because if we're looking at ourselves and it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, or I'm not sure what's next, that's what my husband say, and that's the best part, right? So I'll tell him something and I'll be like, babe, such and such happened. He's like, and that's the best part. Because now that means that something good can happen. Now that means that there's opportunity. Now that means that there's great things that can come from that. So giving ourselves these moments where we can say, and that's the best part. The fact that we're facing milestones and we don't know what's going to happen next, that's the best part. Because now you have an opportunity to write something that is authentically you. Because as you figure out what that looks like for you, you're giving yourself the grace needed. You're picking up the lessons. You're saying, oh, you know what? I accomplished this. Wait a minute. I want to accomplish this. You're being authentic with yourself. So when you do accomplish all the things that it is that God has for you to do, you won't miss the mark. There's no getting it wrong because it's your life. And that's the best part.
I love that. We're going to end right there. That's the best part, is that I've had you on the show, Asha, on purpose. Girl, I knew you was going to come through and bring it. Please, yes, share this live, everyone. Go back, look at the comments. We're going to drop some nuggets in there as well. And as you guys know, every Thursday, these live episodes are converted into the podcast version, and they are on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it. It's everywhere. So I appreciate everybody. Shout out to everybody on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, oh my goodness, TikTok and YouTube. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the comments. Want to just give some love and shout out to the people who have tuned in and listened. Kimberly, shout out to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. She said, love that. Write your own obituary and live up to it. I love that. Tony Bone, also, all the guests that I have watched have all bet on self and have survived. And you definitely are helping people that may have an idea but don't know what to do with it. Shout out to my sister. She also jumped on here. Thank you for thinking I'm awesome. I think you're awesome too, sis. I appreciate you. Appreciate Crystal, Black Light Crystal, jumping on here. Thank you for joining us. And of course, I already said Santana and Latoya. Thank you all. And also Sandra, Boston Butterfly, Chef Pam, Lola, and Isabel. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you come back next week. I have two OGs that are coming. I have Jonathan Gates coming next week. And the week after that, I got Big Shug. And then I have a very special guest. It's a surprise that's going to be here on May 3rd. So, Asha, thank you. Tell the people where they can find you real quick. Where can they find you and how can they connect?
Absolutely. So I'm on all social media platforms as at Asha on Purpose, ASHAONPURPOSE. And my website, www.ashaonpurpose.com. You can find all my things. And if you're interested in having a conversation with me, if you want to shoot me an email, ashaonpurpose@gmail.com. I make it really easy because I like to talk. So thank you for having me.
I love that. And
so
shout
much.
out to my cousin, Tanika. She also tuned in from New York. I appreciate you. So yes, I am excited to see what we do next. Once again, big shout out to our girl, Rebecca DuPont.
Yes, congratulations. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is so nice. We appreciate you. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Again, a bet on self moment, real time. Asha, till next time, I'll see you soon. Keep doing what you do on purpose. And I definitely learned a lot as well from you. And I look forward to our continued partnerships and connections as things progress in both of our lives. Shout out to your husband for making sure all of the technology works. And good night, everyone, and have a wonderful week. Make sure you bet on yourself this week and tell somebody else to do the same. Until our next virtual couch. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.